Are we having fun yet? We're taking a look at GDX here down at 30, 31 and 3/4 here. This is a danger zone. You've got you've got 33 is now broken to the downside. Okay, but only good news is that we do have this trend line coming in here, and each time, buyers have come in every time this GDX kind of gets to around this level. So I don't know. Maybe we get another one here, but this is the danger zone. Let's back up here to see exactly how far back this trend goes. Mm, it's, yeah, it goes back there. So this is strong. I mean, this is a significant level here. Look at all the way from 2016. So you had the one little whoop-de-doo down there, but that was, quick reversal. So that only strengthens the validity of this kind of general rising little maneuver here for gold. So look, this ain't good, but maybe you get. I would expect something like that. So you're going to have to see some kind of buyer step in today, tomorrow, the next day, sometime this week or next. And look, gold is really just a measure of the Federal Reserve's balance sheet. So the Federal Reserve's balance sheet is really just cash and reserves. Okay, so if you think that this is about to go up, they're supposedly draining it right now. They've been able to keep inflation at bay because they just kept everything in excess reserves, but they created all the money and it got stuck in excess reserves and it wasn't allowed to get out. But now, after COVID, they eliminated the requirement to hold reserves. So now, there is no excess. Technically, everything is an excess reserve creation that gets done now. I mean, that's going to be inflation. So this whole move up here, I mean, this is in jeopardy if they don't start printing money. That's the whole idea behind this gold trade. Is you think the Fed's balance sheet is going to grow, and gold is predicting that it would happen, but it stopped. They stopped doing it. Here, all this year, that was, gold's been going down like this with the prediction that, Fed is going to start reducing rates. I mean, start reducing their balance sheet by hiking rates and taking excess money out of the system. Now, I suspect that they're quickly going to find that that is impossible. I mean, that's the whole reason for this gold trade, is that the entire monetary system is hooked on the central bank crack. Now, okay, if they don't grow their balance sheet, this gold trade is over. All right, this is going to be over, and this is going to be here, a double top here. Okay, uh, you're banking on, if you're bullish on this, you are banking on the Federal Reserve growing its balance sheet. There is just no other way that gold can go higher without the Federal Reserve once again reversing quantitative tightening and starting to really blow out its balance sheet. And then if they don't start increasing, they're going to have to bring back excess reserve. They're going to have to bring back a reserve requirement, which was usually about 10% of the reserves in the banking system, of cash in the banking system. And then, you know, going to have to bring that back. Step one is bring back reserves so that there can be excess reserves. And then step two is they're going to have to increase the interest on excess reserves as well. Now, if they don't do both of those things in tandem, um, you know, this is in trouble here. So Fed's got to do that. Fed's got to grow the balance sheet. If they don't, gold is over. All right. I don't know how much more pain in the S&P you got to get through for the Fed to reverse course. I mean, take a look. I'm guessing, take a guess, probably about here before the Fed really says, okay, enough, That makes sense, right? Look at this little zone in here. There's just simply no way the Fed's going to let stocks go down here. Look, they just don't let it happen, right? So whenever you get to, but we're not there yet. So you want to see this yellow line, Fed comes in, okay. Uh, if you get to that red line, I mean, that's a long-term average here. That's a weekly chart. So look, you got some more downside here, a little bit, maybe, 3,600 on the S&P. That's 360 on the SPY. And let's check it out, there, yeah, okay. You see what I mean about this? Okay, so yeah, there's that. They come in with QE. There's that. I mean, that's another QE, and then this is the QE that really kicked it all off. Was right there, and that was the big breakout. Okay, so yeah, I mean, maybe they're gonna come in. Make no mistake about it. They're gonna print the money, but I don't know. I don't think here. I don't know. I don't think right here. There's going to be a little bit more pain before they really come in and start expanding the balance sheet. So all this in the stocks, this is entirely, I would say, I don't know, maybe not entirely, maybe 75% of this price movement is going to just be Federal Reserve balance sheet expansion. Okay, that's it. That's all this is. Um, you know, I don't know what kind of society we're creating, or I really don't know. But the only reason this goes up is because they're expanding their balance sheet. Or again, 75% of the reason this goes up is because they're expanding their balance sheet. So, that's the only game in town. Now, if this goes way, way down, right, then federal tax receipts for the Treasury start drying up, and then we got big time problems because debt is not going down. I mean, our federal debt is going to look like the S&P if the Federal Reserve starts increasing its balance sheet. So they got problems. That's why there's a Fed put, as they're calling it. But at 400 on the SPY, I doubt it. I'm thinking 30, 350, 345 on the S&P, so we're a little ways there. But so look where you're going to be with gold. I mean, it's going to be, it's going to be ugly. Let's check out the miners here in the GDX. What are you going to get to? Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to have to hold here. Listen, they really got to hold here. If this doesn't hold, I mean, it's over. I mean, forget it. Just forget it. So this will be over. I would look for some buying right in there. Now, what is that level? Let's zoom in here, okay? Let's zoom in. Where are we going to be here? So somewhere, yeah. It's not a good place to be. You don't want to be here. This is not ideal. You didn't want to get here. We are, we are right there in the danger zone. Yeah. Oh, no. This is certainly time to start making contingency plans. Let's say that. You don't want to be in here. You want to immediately see some kind of lift off here next week. I mean, this has got to turn around, or else, this is panic time. Okay, this is complete. Right now you got to be making contingency plans, and I guess start figuring out how you're going to deal with just blowing out of this stuff, because yeah, listen, if the Fed doesn't start increasing their balance sheet and reverse course like immediately, it should be obvious to them right now that they're going to have to. Hopefully this stuff bottoms before the S&P does, and that'll give you a real, if it starts like bouncing around here, yeah, then we're good to go. But if you get some kind of weakness that doesn't reverse, and it just kind of maybe trickles along here, this is not a good look. Not a good one. See how right here, it didn't spend any time at all? Like it went down, closed the week down, okay? 1 week down, and then immediately next time it reversed it on the week, right? And by the second week, you're already up. Even on this first week, it already reversed most of that decline. See that? That top and that weekly move right there went all the way, back up to that kind of previous price breakdown. So that wasn't a real significant, you know, that was just a panic liquidity thing. It wasn't guys changing their mind, and they were right because the Federal Reserve ramped up its balance sheet. And so now the idea is that balance sheet expansion is over, balance sheet reduction is about to begin, and if it does for real, and they actually want to bring back, integrity to the money that we use, then yeah, I mean, there's no point in this. If they keep rates up here at 3-4%, if they start extinguishing money, and what does it even matter? I mean, you're talking about, yeah, because look, gold is where it's supposed to be, probably. If you take out the money creation from the Fed, which is their balance sheet of like 7 trillion, minus the excess reserves, which is now not measurable because they eliminated reserve requirement. So, but you got to take out cash, demand deposits, and then the excess reserves. That's mandated because all that money can never become in circulation. So their balance sheet, they got to have a certain amount of cash in the system because that's what we require to use. So that's not, and they control that. It's a closed loop between cash and reserves. So that's not necessarily money creation. Balance sheet expansion, that's beyond, the level of, so if you take out their 7 trillion balance sheet and you reduce cash and excess reserves of, I don't know, maybe call it 2 trillion of excess reserves and about 4 trillion of cash, 6 trillion. They only got about $1 trillion balance sheet, which is only up from, I think, 800 billion before COVID, I want to say, maybe about 1 trillion, right? I don't know. So it's not that big of a deal. And then that shows you, even in here, you've got the gold. So you had this rise from, call it 1,500 up to about 2,000, 1,850 now. So $500 increase, that's about 30%. And that's really basically in line with what their actual balance sheet minus the cash and demand deposits and excess reserves. It's what their balance sheet went up. It didn't actually go up from 1 trillion to 4 trillion. It only went up from, I think, like 800 billion to 1 trillion ish. So, it went up roughly the same percentage that gold did here. So again, this gold is entirely inverse, or related to the Federal Reserve balance sheet. So if you're thinking, like I am, that, we're getting close here to the point of no return where the Fed's got to print or die, you're going to want to see this has got to stop. This has got to stop right here and come around. This is the no bueno zone, okay? Right here, we got to be doing contingency planning in here because this is a very, very real possibility if they're serious about reducing their balance sheet, which would be good for the country. I mean, they're going to, but again, in reducing their balance sheet, they're going to have banks are going to have to go under, right? You're going to have you're going to have another Lehman type event where some banks go under because we just don't need the banks. They serve no function in society. They don't do anything. And we just don't need them. You're going to have to get rid of that. You're going to have to get rid of some of these automakers. Like we bailed out GM. I don't know what use they serve. We don't need all those autos. That was the whole point. Or, well, we need the number of autos, but the property, plant, and equipment would have gone to somebody else, with all the debt that GM had and all the excess and all the perhaps too high wages that were being paid out to the unionized workforce. Maybe GM needed to restructure, but, that wasn't allowed to happen because then it would have crushed everything. The entire system would have gone. So the restructuring was never allowed to happen. And I just don't see how they're going to let that happen now. I mean, how are they going to let all these banks that do nothing go out of business? One bank has to fail. Someone globally, a big one, has got to go away, like Lehman. Some of these automakers, minor ones or a big one, maybe it was Chrysler was the one that had to go because they were making all the excess auto. One of them has to go. All right, that's just not. It's just not going to be allowed to happen. So how are they going to deal with the consequences of that? You know, I don't think it's happening. Okay, I just don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to, you know, this thing is coming into the wire right here. All right. I think maybe we get a little bit of this, or maybe something, and you're going to see this soon, right? Right around 1800. Okay. Yeah. And then, that's going to be your indication that, yeah, they're going to print the money. Then maybe this is a ways away. I don't know. Maybe you get this. That would actually be better, right? A nice grind them out for the rest of the year. Then you could get a nice little tightness in there. And then, you'd want to see the move. Thanks for watching Paul Power Merchants.